My name's Darius Mafi, fight out of Predators MMA. I'm 2-0, looking to go 3-0 December 8th, and yeah, that's basically it. Come from a wrestling background, predominantly grappling background as well. Started in combat sports, in actually kickboxing when I was 16, so 10 years ago now. So, and then not looked back since. You know, I've seen the UFC, Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz, and since then been all in. So yeah, started with kickboxing, then advanced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling, and focused on that. And went to university, got my degree there whilst I was wrestling as well. I was sports scholarship there for wrestling, so but most of the time I was there, it was mainly wrestling and less of the degree. So that's basically my background in the sport. I've been doing now, competing in MMA for 2 years. Had some injuries for one of the years, so I've been competing really for like about a year, and sparring, training MMA really for about a year, but always been in martial arts for near now about 10 years. When I first seen it, and I saw like, I'd actually as a little kid I'd watch like pro wrestling, like WWE and at the time WWF, and it was like Ken Shamrock, and I was like, Ken Shamrock actually fights, he doesn't just do like WWF. When they called him the world's most dangerous man, he actually might have been the world's most dangerous man. So I thought, what's this? This is fighting in a cage. For these guys, they're like animals or something. Like, so then I started watching it, and when I realised, I was like, wow, so it's wrestling and grappling and what? Because being half Iranian, in Iran, wrestling is the national sport. It's a massive sport. So my dad as a kid had done it, and I'd always like thought of it the same way people thought of WWF. So I didn't really understand it. So when I seen what they were like fighting in the UFC, and I was like, well, these guys wrestling is like this, all right. And then started watching it and got onto Georges St. Pierre, who was one of the top fighters at the time, and he was using his wrestling, and he started wrestling late and got into it. And seeing him, I was like, right, this guy trains everything individually, he trains like this, he's a proper martial artist and a proper athlete. So since then I was like, right, this isn't just a street fight in a cage, this is technique, it's skill and will. So that's basically it. Currently, the ones that I look up to and I admire their skills, like Daniel Cormier, Yoel Romero, those two probably stand out for me the most. Khabib as well, good fighter, top fighter. GSP still, but current fighters that are fighting frequently is like Khabib, mainly Cormier, Romero, even like, you know, like the new Russians coming through, like Zabit is a good fighter. Just the guys that got good wrestling, but with the good striking, good all around game, but they're entertaining. Like Yoel Romero is probably my favourite fighter. Out of any fighter, and because he's just too exciting, he's explosive, you don't know what he's going to do. So yeah, probably Yoel. You can't come into MMA from any background and just expect to do well. If you're coming from wrestling and expecting that you're like, you might have been in the wrestling gym and an MMA guy's come in, and you might have had him off that day, just wrestled him because that's what you do. But if you're expecting to just go into there and you're just going to go in there, you're going to take them down, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, and it's going to hurt. Like you've got to know everything. If you can't set up your wrestling in MMA without knowing striking, you can't strike in MMA without knowing wrestling. Like, you can even look at, even though he's a very well-rounded fighter, Conor McGregor, with Khabib, he actually dropped him with a punch, which is the last thing you'd expect, because he's expecting a takedown, he's expecting something else, and then he comes with a punch. So your striking is affected by the wrestling, and your wrestling is affected by the striking, and your grappling. You need to encompass everything. Wrestling for MMA, control on the ground, striking on the feet, and grappling and finishing people, ground and pound. It's never ending. It's never ending in MMA. Well, not much. Look, to me, is with opponents I just focus on my training. Whoever they're putting in there, I've prepared. I can go all day. Anything. I've got the cardio to do it. I've got the will to do it. So to me, who's going in there, the result will be the same. So that's basically that. It's going well. Just training most days really. Most days, 2 days, hard days. You're on the wall, wrestling on the wall, getting up, striking, sparring, everything. So yeah, just pushing through every days and enjoying it really. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? Just be there, be in the cage, be on weight, and that's it. Good luck. Yeah, next year I want to get amateur title, get that out of the way, then start looking for pro, and then moving on with the pro, and then eventually get to the top level. That's the goal. You can't half step into this game. If you're just playing with this game and just doing it as a hobby, you've got to be careful, because there's a lot of people out there that are not doing it as just a hobby. You go in there, it's dealing out damage to people. It's very serious. So I don't believe in doing this as just something to pass the time, to have a bit of fun. I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but I'm here to get as far as I can. Otherwise there'd be no point doing it. To be honest, I go in there to finish, and that is the goal. You're not there to mess around and things like that. I would like a bit of time in there, get some experience, build my experience. But if they're not at the level, and I go out there and either I get my hands on them or I hit them and they go, that's happy days sometimes. You know, you get in there. The last fight I was almost a bit annoyed. It was like bang, but it is what it is. If you come out completely unscathed and you win, that's the goal. You know, in this game it's about advancing each fight, and taking the least amount of damage, because the least amount of damage you take, the longer you last in this sport. You know, I'm not the type of guy who's like walking around with chest up and things like that. I guess it's stressful. It's a lot of things being a fighter. Like you every day you analysing yourself with any performance, sport or anything where you're performing. You're having to sort of analyse yourself every day. So when you're thinking of being a fighter, you're talking about like living day as a fighter. Talking about checking your food, checking your weight, your training. What am I doing today? Like what's going to help me improve? That's being a fighter. Not, you know, can I go out or should I stay in and get rest and get ready to train? That's the main thing of being a fighter. Like it's just being disciplined in day-to-day life. Really, that's the way it is. It's not so much being a fighter as it is being a martial artist. Being a martial artist, you got to be disciplined, and that's basically what it is.